Assalamualaikum and a very good day to everyone. Firstly, I would like to welcome all of you to the webinar of a comparison on regulation between conventional and Islamic credit card in Malaysia. My name is Mohamed Azran. It is a pleasure for me to be the moderator for today's program. A lot of meaningful knowledge and information will be shared throughout the program. Therefore, I really hope that all of the attendees can stay with us, lend us your ears to listen to the meaningful sharing by our professional speakers. And on behalf of the organizers, we hope we can both benefit from this session. Without wasting more time, I will introduce three panelists who will share their opinions on thoughts on today's discussion, namely Mr. Ahmed, Mr. Hakim, and Mr. Arif. Before moving on the first question to our panelists, I would like to provide some background on the credit card so that the audience may be better comprehend the topic of our discussion today. Credit cards are a very convenient method of making purchases without carrying cash. This is a service that is provided by most banks as a form of consumer finance. From the conventional perspective, a credit card is a thin rectangular piece of plastic or metal issued by a bank or financial service company that allows cardholders to borrow funds with which to pay for goods and services, with merchants that accept cards for payment. Credit cards impose the condition that cardholders pay back the borrowed money, plus any applicable interest, as well as additional agreed upon charge, either in full by billing, date, or over time. In Islamic finance, a credit card is an instrument which provides the holder with the ability to purchase goods and services from merchants without requiring immediate payment of the cash price. It can be considered either as a guarantee given by the issuer to the seller who accepts it, or as a transfer of debt by the debtor to the issuer. Hence, it falls within the permissible transaction in Sharia. Okay then, without wasting our time, we would like to hear from our respected panel today to discuss more detail on our topic. So, the first question from this webinar will address to Mr. Ahmed. In your opinion, how do Islamic and conventional credit cards work? The floor is yours. Thank you.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you, Mr. Harith. I'm excited to participate in this webinar, in which we will discuss the difference between the rules, Islamic and conventional credit cards. If I go through to your question, an Islamic credit card allows us to make upfront purchase and pay for it a later day. However, Islamic credit cards operate on different principles than conventional credit cards. Islamic credit cards are Sharia compliant and therefore limit purchase to halal transactions only. On the other hand, any form of non-halal will not accept an Islamic card. However, an Islamic credit card uses the concept of ta'wid for its transaction, which is an agreement between the financier and the recipient. For example, if you exceed the deadline or do not cover the full amount, the credit card company does not charge you interest, which is called riba. It will instead charge you a fee, which is called a profit rate, on the remaining balance. This is because it's against Islam to force any riba or interest. Another concept that is used is ujra, where payment is made in exchange for services and benefits that are being offered to the card holders. This is how card credits work. Like in Malaysia, with CIMB Bank, Islam Mastercard can charge a fee for services like their cash advance feature. If I jump to the conventional credit card, it's a link to a credit account, which is financial organization. When you use the card, you are borrowing money from the credit card issuer. You can use a credit card to purchase goods or services with any merchant that accepts credit cards. Some cards also let you go and then cash advance, even though it's not recommended because of the high fees involved the amount you owe on credit card. It's called the balance. For example, if you make $100 purchase, your card balance will increase by $100. Each credit card has a limit, which is maximum amount you can owe the bank on time. On the other hand, If your card's credit card limit is 1,000, then the balance can't exceed that amount. There are differences between your credit limit and the balance is known as available credit. For example, if your card has 1,000 ringgit militia credit limit and 100 balance, the available credit will be 900 ringgit. After you make payment, you have more available credit to borrow again. For that reason, a credit card is a considered revolving lane for a credit. You can keep using it or borrowing from it as long as you pay your bill and have credit available. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Ahmed, for such a wonderful explanation. Now we move to the second question to our second panel. Okay, Mr. Hakim, are there regulations governing credit card in Malaysia, and who is the issuer? Okay, next, can you tell us the significant differences in the regulation between conventional and Islamic credit cards in Malaysia? Yes.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you for your inquiry, Mr. Harith. The question may be divided into three parts. Okay, the first is there a regulation that governs credit cards in Malaysia? The second question is, who issued this regulation? And the third is about the significant differences in Malaysian regulation governing conventional and Islamic credit cards. Returning to the first question, whether there are regulations governing credit cards in Malaysia, the answer is yes. And they can be divided into two categories, which is conventional and Islamic. These two regulations were published on July 2, 2019 and were issued by Bank Negara Malaysia, which has answered the second question about the institution responsible for issuing this regulation. So, to clarify the fundamental distinctions between these two regulations, I will first discuss the regulatory framework of this policy statement. The public may get this documents policy on the official websites of the Bank Negara Malaysia by searching under the regulation tabs. In general, the two policy documents that include credit card regulation are divided into two parts, which is Part A and B, which is the Part A provides an overview, and while the Part B is on the business conduct. So, significant differences are easily seen in the two policies of this document. The first is located in the section A, which is on the overview, which is in the section 3 on the legal provisions. For conventional credit cards, the requirement in the document are set out in the accordance with the A section 18 bracket 2, 25 bracket 2, 33 bracket 1, 47 bracket 1, 49, 67 bracket 3 and 123 bracket 1 of the Financial Services Act 2013, and B section 41 and 42 bracket C bracket 1 of the Development Financial Institution Act 2002, and the guidance in this policy document is specified pursuant to the section 266 of the FSA and section 126 of the DFIA. While for the Islamic credit cards, A section 2 bracket 2, 29 bracket 2, 43 bracket 1, 57 bracket 1, 76 bracket 3 and 135 bracket 1 of the Islamic Financial Services Act 2013 IFSA, B section 18 bracket 2 and 49 of the Financial Services Act 2013 FSA, and C section 33 bracket E, 41 and 42 bracket C and 1 of the Development Financial Institution Act 2002. The guidance in this policy document is specified pursuant to the section 277 of IFSA, section 266 of the FSA, and section 126 of the DFIA. The notable differences we can see is the presence of the IFSA, which is the Islamic Financial Services Act, on the Islamic credit cards and not on the conventional credit cards. Okay, the second differences lies in the Part B, which is in the business conduct. Precisely, the Islamic credit card policy document has a special part in this part, which is the Shariah concept. And this part is not in the conventional credit card policy document. In that section, it focuses on the concept of Shariah that must be practices such as 8.1, an issuer shall put in place appropriate process, mechanism, and safeguards to ensure that a credit card Islamic is not used for non-Sharia compliant transaction. And 8.2, an issuer shall ensure aqad is expresses orally, in writing, or any other methods recognized by Sharia. In this case, where there are in change in credit limit. And Section 8.3, an issuer shall ensure that the application of tawarruk of or ujrah-based credit card Islamic is in line with the policy documents tawarruk or qad, respectively. For new Sharia concept approved by the Sharia Advisory Council, an issuer shall observe applicable policy document on Sharia contracts issued by the bank or rulings by the Sharia Advisory Council. And lastly, on the section 8.4, an issuer shall obtain the bank's approval prior to the changing the underlying Sharia concept for its credit card Islamic structure. And for the last significant differences is in the Part B as well, but specifically in the fees and charges section. And in that section, there is a difference in terms in the term use. The term used in the conventional policy document is finance charge, but the term profit or fee rate is used in the Islamic policy document. For Islamic credit cards, an issuer shall ensure that profit or fee is imposed on retail transaction and cash withdrawal transaction only, and the issuer shall grant IBRA rebate to a card holder for the unused portion of the total profit or fee, while this is not discussed on the conventional credit cards. As for the late payment charges section, Islamic credit cards have a special account known as gharamah account for a card issuer to place excess charges if the charges imposed exceeds the actual cost incurred. So those are the only three notable differences regarding the regulatory differences of both conventional and Islamic credit cards that I can share today. So those are the only three noteworthy regulatory distinction between the conventional and Islamic credit card. So I hand it back to the moderator. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Mr. Hakim, for a very concise and helpful information. So we move to the last question, to the third panel today. So I will ask to Mr. Arif, could you explain that is the credit card is halal? Okay.
Okay, thank you,
Please.
Mr. Moderator, Mr. Harith. So thank you for the question. I think this is very good question, and it might open all Muslim minds, and I hope that all Muslim will hear this carefully. If you are talking about conventional credit card, where the bank give you the permission that you can utilize the some amount of money, depending upon your credit, whether it's a bronze level, silver level, or gold level, or whether the banks offer you some money, for example, 2,000 ringgit to 50,000 ringgit, depending on the level. So, and this money that you utilize, you have to give within 1 or 2 months. If you give that, then there is no interest. If you give above that, then there is an exorbitant interest, which goes up to maybe 3% per month, which is 36% annually, and anywhere for 2 or 3% a month, that is 24 to 36% a year, which is exorbitant. And I believe that there are some scholars who say that if you are using credit card, as long as you see to it, you pay within the stipulated time, within the 1 month or 2 month frame, and no interest that is permitted. And I, for myself, I disagree with it. It is a totally haram. The moment you take the credit card from conventional bank, you are signing a document stated that if you do not pay in time, you will give riba. Signing a document that you will pay riba is also haram. Allah in Al-Quran, Allah will be a war against you. So even using a credit card with intention that you will not take longer than the time to permitted, I believe majority of the Muslim living in this country, especially in Malaysia, have a credit card from conventional bank. Majority, unfortunately. I believe there are some scholars from the Western countries that need permission. It is 100% totally haram. All the major scholars believe that credit card from conventional bank is totally haram because you are signing, and who can give guarantee that you will always pay on time? You are a human being and you can make mistake. If you once also you forget to pay on time, it is haram. Even if you pay on time regularly, only signing a document is haram. So using a credit card of a conventional bank is totally haram. I'm aware that there are some scholars that have been permission, but I disagree with them. What you can do if you can have a credit card from Islamic bank? Okay, if it is Islamic bank, you can have the credit card. The other what you can do is have a debit card. Debit card means the money is already in your account, that you are not signing any document saying that you are paying interest. So debit card in conventional bank is permitted. Credit card in conventional bank is haram. Debit card in conventional bank is permitted and credit card is haram. Okay, however, credit card in Islamic bank is permitted because it works on Islamic principle on the Shariah basis. There is no riba involved. So the best option is have a credit card from Islamic bank, and the second option is have a debit card in a conventional bank, which is that does not attract any interest. But credit card in a conventional bank is haram. It is a major sin. It's clearly mentioned in Al-Quran, Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 172. Ya ayyuhalladzina amanu kulu min tayyibatin ma razaqnakum washkurullah in kuntum iyyahu ta'budun. Or you believe, eat of the good things that we have provided you with, and give thanks to Allah if Him it is that you worship. O believers, fear you God and give up the usury, which is riba, that is outstanding, if you are believer. But if you do not, then take notice that God shall war with you and his messenger. Yet if you repent, you shall have you principle unwrongly and unwronged. So I'm begging all the Muslim in any parts of the world, if you have a credit card from any of conventional bank, please start from today itself. If cannot, tomorrow, please discontinue it. Open an Islamic bank. If you don't have Islamic bank account, convert it into a debit card. Debit card is permissible where there is no riba. So that's all from me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the explanation, Mr. Arif. I'm sure that the audience, including myself, have learned the comparison on regulation between conventional and Islamic credit card in Malaysia. Okay, so in conclusion, credit cards benefit us a lot nowadays. There is no denying that that is better and can prevent bad things from happening, such as robbery and so on. In addition, it can also be widely used by all communities. However, as Muslims, we should analyze the matter first before accepting it. Everything we want to accept or use must be Sharia compliant product so that we do not practice what is prohibited in Islam, such as having the elements of riba. This also belongs to the question on credit cards. It must comply with the Sharia method, starting from the registration, implementation, and also the payment. This is to avoid the element of that is forbidden and blessed by Allah in every act that we do. Well, attendees, we have reached the end of our webinar session. From the organizer, I apologize if there is a mistake on our part. Millions of thanks to the panelists and participants who are willing to attend this webinar session. We hope many people can benefit from all of the panel. I am Harith, your moderator today. May be given the opportunity